Hi, it's Dave Robinson with PlantCoverCrops.com. We're in a field of radish, chickling vetch, and peas in the Bowling Green, Ohio area. Today is November 11th, 2010, and we're out looking at a fairly large field that was planted after wheat had been harvested. The ground was then tilled, and then it was blown on. The seed was blown on and then tilled into the ground. This has been an exceptionally dry year in this part of Ohio and this part of the Midwest. And the thing that's amazing to me is we've got some pretty big radishes out here with very, very little moisture, probably less than 3 inches of moisture since this has been planted. And yet we've got some radishes that are just out of control, you might say. This plant right here was pulled up earlier, and we have just about 7 inches down to this point, well, down to the nub here, not counting what went on down below that. And so we've got a very large sphere of influence, almost both hands across here at the surface level. And as we even get into the surface, just about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, we still are just barely overlapping here. So it's a wonderful opportunity to help lift and build soil. Now we've got a plant here that has not been dug up yet, and one thing that we've seen in some earlier digging today is that we found a pretty good sphere of influence around these radishes. Now I'm not telling you we need to have a radish that's this big all of the time, but I'm telling you when we do have radishes that are this big, they have a pretty good influence in the surface around them. Now, just to do an experiment, we're going to come out here and dig where there's no radish and no cover crop. Okay, so we've got some effort going into that, and we are digging. I'm able to get into the surface about 2.5 inches is all. Okay, now we're going to come to within 6 inches of this radish. Maybe let's say 5 inches of this radish. Well, let's do 6. And we're going to see how it goes in there. Oh my. All right, with about the same amount of pressure on the shovel, 6 inches away from the radish, we're just over 6 inches, maybe 6.5 inches into the surface around, 6 inches away from this giant radish. Now again, I'm not sure we want these giant radishes, but when we have them, we're still getting some benefit. Now we're going to do a little digging here to find out what kind of depth we're getting. Earlier we found one that was just about 16 or 17 inches deep underneath the surface of the soil. Oh my, look at this. I'm going to quit right there. Right now, we're 9 inches from the center of the radish. Well, let's do 8 inches from the center of the radish, 6.5 inches from the outside. And I've got 10 inches of influence that far away from this radish. So that is amazing. At least to me it's amazing. So I think that to most farmers they would find this to be a real good opportunity to help break up the surface of the soil. And the nice thing is we're also going to be holding on to nutrients, as my nickname for these things is. They're nutrient storage vessels. And I think that I know I'm going to break this big root off. I almost always do. But and again, we're really, really dry here. So, and here I am again, 6-8 inches away from the surface of that radish. And I'm able to get in deep. All right, I popped it. So I know that I didn't get the whole radish. Get the whole root. Now again, we've got peas out here, we've got chickling vetch out here. The one thing I see already in here, and we've got another smaller radish close by. Look at all the root around here. This radish doesn't look very big, but we've got roots of this teeny tiny little radish that everybody goes, oh, that's not all that good. I've got roots about 9 inches deep. Now, are they big roots? No. No, they're not. But the point is, I've got roots going down. Now, we did a little test a little bit ago. I think our hard pan we found is just about 9 inches. So we're getting down into that area with our radishes and getting through that hard pan. So again, this is a field that's tilled. It's not no-tilled. Even though it may be no-tilled next spring, it's not typically a no-till field. So we've got some harder soil. Well, I'd like to get this whole thing. I know we found some 28 inches deep on some different radishes. We don't have quite the stand of peas and vetch here that we'd like to have had. We just didn't have the moisture really, and maybe not the planting depth either, to really get this to do quite as well on our legumes as what we would have liked. I'm going to do a little digging here. So I know this is just like watching paint dry to some of you guys, but the reality is that oh, there's our sphere of influence. His roots coming off the side, it looks like, or feels like. Oh, by golly, within that same sphere we've got another radish. So it wasn't just one radish by itself that was throwing out a big root and nothing else around it at all. We've got other radishes with it, so that's also good. But boy, our main area of really helping our soil is right there. Oh, now there's another radish close by. Again, at least 9 inches in the soil. YouTube's gonna love this one. All right. Well, obviously I broke off the main part of the radish, but here we are with, again, a radish that's pretty darn good size in the soil, and it lifted up the soil probably close to about a ½ inch, where it was right around the edge of the, right at ground level. It probably lifted that soil about a ½ inch. Obviously I broke off like I thought I did, the main root going down. Here's a big part right here I broke off. But nevertheless, I'm going to guess we're probably 7 inches deep with this of what we got in the soil. Yeah, I'm counting this little tab there. We're over 9 inches deep, so we're down into that plow pan area and drilling through with these nutrient storage vessels. And that's the other nice thing, is we're literally holding on to a lot of nutrients out here. We're producing nitrogen with the peas and the vetch, chickling vetch. We're getting through the tough part of the plow pan, and you know, we're here where this radish is. I'm almost able to get my shovel, my spade, all the way into the soil. So I'm definitely through the plow pan, and that's without a lot of effort. And again, that plow pan's at about 9 inches. So there we are, surface level. I've got my whole spade in there. So that radish has made such a tremendous difference in a sphere of around 12 inches in diameter. And what an amazing product that this is. These happen to be the groundhog radishes, along with the Austrian winter peas and the Chickling Vetch. Greg, if you'll span out across the field here, you can see it's a pretty good sized field, and very thankful to have the farmer and dealer that worked with this project. And again, we've got the peas and vetch out here. As you look across, you don't see a lot of that, but if we look right down here, Greg, you can see the Chickling Vetch. And again, our soil surface is really hard. Now these were inoculated, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of nodulation we might have. I know on most things this year, the nodules have not been as big or plentiful just because it's so dry. But we'll see how this Chickling Vetch is doing. This vetch is a product that is a little easier to use than the hairy vetch is. And again, there's our surface here. It's kind of hard. Whoops. So we're about 4 inches down is where the hard pan is here. So we're dug away about 2 inches, and then that ground is just really hard. So you can see some some of the root over here. But the whole idea here is to not only to add nitrogen to this soil, but also to build soil. Man, that is so hard, it's hard to break apart. How's this for home video? All right. It'd be awful nice to find some big old nodules in here, of which, well, just broke that root off. Sometimes there's as much art to this as there is science, and I'm not a very good artist. Okay, there's our main root. And our main root, again, our hardpan was found here about 4 inches in this area. It's right to here, and we're through that. So even with our Chickling Vetch, we're through that hard area. There's some nodulation finally. Got a little bit of nodulation going on right here. Not like we would traditionally find when there's good moisture, but we've also got nitrogen in the top here. We've got a little bit of nodulation going on in the root. This isn't as big as what we would have found last year in this same region, but nevertheless, it's still doing some good. And it's putting on nitrogen to help feed these radishes. So again, Dave Robinson with plantcovercrops.com, and we're in a field of radishes, Chickling Vetch, and Austrian winter peas in the Bowling Green, Ohio area on November 11th, 2010.